welcome everyone to this testing. Is your magic turned on or up? I mean, you're going to have to start by turning it on and then you can turn it up. And we've been asking people what it is. So Dane, I'm going to ask you, like, where is your magic at today?
Oh, today, 287 trillion, 586 billion, 492,111.75. Thank you for asking. I'm glad because I didn't know the exact number until you asked.
See? And now this is like one of the magical things is because you now made the scale from like sub-zero to
Right.
that whole long number you said. And now everybody has access to that.
You're welcome.
Yes. So you're tuning in from Uluru in Australia, and I'm
Yeah.
in a
Ooh, wait.
castle.
Hold,
Yeah.
hold a minute. You
Yes.
are sorry. And you were at the castle.
Yes, actually, your castle. We're going to have to point
My
this out. No,
castle.
this is
What
your
your
castle.
what wait, what is your magic number?
Oh my God. Ah, I'm going to go
Ah,
for 2 trillion. That's like a really
oh,
big number that I don't even know. 2 trillion 57.
I like it. I
Mhm.
like that, especially the 57, because
Yeah,
those are numbers you can grasp onto here. I want to show you a picture of Uluru. And
right.
I was hoping, see, if we did this tomorrow, I would have been, but I had no idea when I was going where. I would have been in the place where I might have been able to actually show you Uluru while we were on the Zoom. So you have to settle for this picture that I took 2 days ago. But still, given that it's 650 million years old, I don't think it has changed much in the last 2 days, probably. That's what I'm thinking.
And how close are you to Uluru right now?
I could about 20 minutes away, about a 20-minute drive,
So
or a super-sized magical step or two.
true,
Hello?
true.
Right.
Like one of those, the one who had, I don't know, in Swedish it's called 7 stövlar, which means that he had these boots that could make him walk.
7 league boots, which, by the way, is when I'm walking with people, they're like, how can I not keep up with you? We seem to be going the same pace. I'm like, I know. That's because I have secret 7 league boots on. It's part of my magic.
It's so true. When I walk with you, I'm like always a few steps behind. I feel like a little woman who's trying to catch up. You're like, woof. And our legs are like at the same speed. It's this magical thing that makes you spring as you walk. So
Exactly. I have a spring, I have a magical spring in my step.
yes. So at Uluru, where you are, how
Mm.
how does a place like that contribute to your magic?
Well, it's an interesting thing. You and I were actually speaking this morning, and I was talking
Mm,
about how it was going to rain, and you were like, "Wow, it's raining here at the castle too." And then I thought of El Lugar, which is a resort we have in Costa Rica, and I
mm,
thought, well, and the rain for me was what tied the things together. But then energetically, I was like, wow, all three of these places have a similar thing going on. And one of the things that we've been acknowledging about this particular area, based on Uluru and whatever's here, is it's like the energies of what the Earth actually is are much more accessible. They're closer to the surface, basically. And so what it's I okay, like I can see it. It's raining now, but
mm.
like I can see it off in the distance, and it's got this thrum that is miraculous, and and when we're truly being us, the magic we have available, that's actually the thrum we have also. But here's the weird part is trying to get people to acknowledge, because when you acknowledge something, it can show up more in your life. And trying to get people to acknowledge that they're fundamentally capable of magic and then that's what their being actually is a very interesting journey because we live in a world that tells you that you need to understand, you need to define, you need to think. But if you've ever asked for something and had it show up, do you have any idea how? No, truth is you don't. You asked and you were willing to receive. That's magic. And so magic doesn't feel like anything. And we keep going through our lives trying to access magic by trying to feel it rather than, or by some parameter that makes sense to our logical mind.
Right.
And being magic is actually being beyond your logical mind and how you function.
Well, so I had two questions that came up in my at the same time. I will start with one of them. So this thrum that you're talking about, when we facilitate or when we receive the symphony energy, um, that you facilitate classes in, that I actually also facilitate classes in, there I perceive that thrum. It kind of like that's the first thing that starts. It's just like, or is it actually starting or am I noticing it? Is it always there?
A little of both. When you go to facilitate, when the class start, well, before the class starts, I should say,
Mm.
what happens is it amps up to a level in which, and people in class notice, I'll get to an ESB class and I'll go, how many of you started the class 2 weeks ago? And they're like, I did, this is the weirdest 2 weeks of my life so far. I'm like, awesome. So glad you pre-prepared, you know, and, and because in making the choice to go there, what people think they're saying yes to, I'm going to ESB. Oh, oh, cupcake. No, that's not what you're saying yes to. It just looks like that. So your mind will understand it. And that's really what classes are. It's something your mind understands so that your being can have the permission to do what it wants to do. And so what's really going on is their being is going, I know there's so much more available to be. I know it. And I'm tired of not having it, not being able to live with it, and or not being able to have that as part of my living, as part of the creation of my life and living, because what this invites you to is magic as part of the creation of your life and living, not just mental and control and better control. And you think you're doing better if you do more control and better control. Start to instead be able to relax and recognize the universe has your back. But I could say that 1,000 times to somebody and
Yeah.
they'd never hear it. Once you have an experience of it, which is what occurs in the classes, it's yours forever. Even if it seems like it's there and it's not, or it's there more sometimes and less sometimes. But that's actually what happens during a class. Back to your question, is it amps up to be able to open those doors for the people that have said yes to showing up.
Right. And they try to think there's something weird going on in my life, but it's actually the energy is already starting to shift because they made this choice to come. Wow.
Yeah. Well,
I,
and if you look at that for just a moment, the only thing we're undoing in ESB and SOP and really all of Access, what we're undoing is what's not you. But sometimes it's a lot easier to undo it if you've been swimming in it and having it around here so that it's easier to actually see it, perceive it, make a different choice, undo the lies that are sticking us, because the only thing that ever sticks us is a lie. And so it starts breaking rather than being a solid foundation or a solid thing that people are living in, it starts breaking apart so that it can change during the class. And people recognize it even though they've never been trained, if you will, or told, hey, this is the energetics of what's going on.
well, and I just realized that even people coming on this live and asking that question,
Hi,
hi,
hello, live people. If you
where's
are
your magic?
currently dead, good job on getting access to a computer. Way to go. I'm
And
assuming that it's run alive. Most of them are probably alive. That was maybe I shouldn't make that assumption though. I don't know
I
what
don't know.
entities
I'm in the castle.
figure it
There
out.
may be plenty of people that are not alive around here watching you right now. Just
But
saying.
in the castle, no, the castle's like, if you're dead, go away. Unless you have something to contribute, like tell
Exactly.
me where your treasure is buried.
Nature
You know?
spirit.
Yeah,
So I
nature
just want
spirits.
exactly. Well, so See, there's so many threads to go on.
Sorry,
So
I'm laughing because I can only imagine what it's like to try to follow me in a Zoom at this point. And I don't mean follow, but interact with and guide this conversation somewhere that will make sense for people. Sorry, everybody. ADHD, very strong, very strong. Very
So say somebody came on here and we asked that question, okay,
strong.
where's your magic dial, set? And then at the moment, because they're asking, they're actually putting their awareness on it, then all the places where it's not turned on would also show up because it can actually be changed. Is that correct?
Yeah, in fact, what I've seen is after somebody does the foundation of access, pretty much everything that comes up after that point, even if it looks like an ugly pile of poo, is so it can be changed, so it can be
Mm,
made. Because when somebody does a foundation, they're taking a leap into the known for a being, but the unknown beyond this reality that is actually about being. And that's what ESP and SOP are all about also.
mm. Wow. Oh, that just gave me a whole new awareness. So say somebody is on right now and they're like
Ah,
heavy and
ah.
the world is cray cray and their magic feels like it's non-existent. What's a question? What's something they can tap into? Can they use the earth? Like all of that. What would you suggest for them?
I would suggest truth. Is it yours?
Mm,
Huh. No. Okay, nice try. Everything you did to try to buy it is yours and try to heal all the people that make this their reality nonstop. And everywhere you think it's your job, and everywhere you think it's your fault, if anybody that you're connected to on the planet is suffering, will you destroy and uncreate it all, please?
yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all 100, shorts, boys, povets, bases, creations, and beyonds. And all of the frantic need to prove that you are and are not wrong simultaneously. And all of
Mm,
the frantic needs of all the people in the world that you're aware of, that because you're aware of it, you think it must have something to do with you, but also you believe that it's your job to fulfill people's frantic needs. Everybody, will you destroy and create it, please?
yes.
And the gazillion, right? Roundabout all 100, podpoc, shorts, boys, povets, bases, creations, and beyond. From
Mm,
YouTube, what will it take for me to get to an ESP? Make the demand right now. This is happening. Nothing and no one is going to get in my way and stop me, even me, because we're the only ones with enough power to stop ourselves. Stop
mm.
it.
So so if um if they have this sense that there may be a place for them on the earth that has that magic that Uluru could have, or that the castle has, that Elgar has. There are other places. How can we bring that with us into this, into our everyday, like into the mundane of living that doesn't have to be mundane at all?
No, and that's what this invites you to the awareness of. And once
Mm,
again, like you got to have the experience. Well, it's easier if you have the experience of it, but so basically that's what ESP and SOP are all about is the recognition that you're an energetic being. How do we use this to your advantage and to the world's advantage? And how do you have that with you? Well, like right now, tap into Uluru, tap
mm,
into the castle. See, they have very similar but different energies. Tap into uh Lugar in the rainforest in Costa Rica. And we went through about 50 properties before we found this one. And it wasn't based on how it looks, it was based on how it feels. It was based on what it is, what it gifts, what it can be. So tap into all those and now ask to have that for you as part of your reality and world too.
mm.
And you
And
might
there's not a
notice a
need,
shift. What?
there's not a need to be there. Was what I was going to add.
Yeah, and this is a This is a big thing because a lot of people have been sold the idea you need to be there to tap into its energy, but do you need to be there to know that your mom is sad on the other side of the planet or the other side of your country or the other side of your city or the other side of your house?
Mm,
No, you are it. You are that awareness. And one of the parts that's so challenging to get people to realize is it's so simplistic and so part of who we are that we think it can't be real when it's that easy.
mm,
Okay, so let it be easy. Hello, Uluru. Here, I'll give you a picture if that's helpful for some of you. Because the problem is we think that basically our greatest problem is we think. Okay, so you're like, what do we think? No, the problem is that we think, not what do we think. Anything beyond anything into thinking is a limitation of what's possible. So I'll give you the picture again of Uluru. You can see my little light there too, but I will try to do that. Okay, so there's Uluru. Tap into that. Tap
mm,
into El Lugar in Costa Rica. Tap into the castle where Katarina is. Not from a significance, though, just from if there's something on this beautiful planet that will make your life easier, why would you not say yes to tapping into it?
mm,
Because it's there, but maybe you didn't even know about Uluru until this Zoom, this live, this thing we're doing, whatever the heck we're doing. Okay. Maybe you didn't even know about it. But now that you've seen it, and here's the other thing is ESB is like it's about the energetic synthesis of your being, meaning, which is like, well, it makes no sense to my mind. I know. It's because it's beyond your mind. It's about the
mm,
energy of your being that you have very seldom gotten to experience, gotten to live, gotten to know exists for you too. And as a secondary attempt, or as it's like we try to instead think ourselves into what it would be like to be us. And thinking is really a secondhand citizen. Your knowing is far faster. Your
mm,
energetic of your being is far faster. So an infinite being knows, perceives, bees, and receives. And so, to the extent that you're willing to follow your knowing, your perceiving increases, your receiving increases, and your being is acknowledged. So, therefore, it increases in how it can show up.
mm,
And that's what ESP does. It acknowledges that your being exists. It acknowledges that there's a thing called your being that is way beyond your mind. It acknowledges that your mind has been lying to you your entire life, and you don't have to fucking listen to it ever again. Okay. And then in SOP, we start with the foundation of ESP, we start exploring how, with this foundation of more of your being that you have available, how do we play to create more miracles and more possibilities for us and everybody else?
Being at the castle, there's such a timelessness about this place, and it's so undefined. So when I get here every time, it takes like a few hours, and then I hear more things. Everything gets brighter, not just for the eyes, but like every sense gets like I hear more, I smell more. There's this like fullness of that here. And for me, that's also the symphony, not from like it's nearly in the stillness is the symphony. I can hear it more or I can perceive it more. So can you talk a little bit about that, like the difference between that solidity of reality that we're trying to figure out and yeah, the acoustic way
Yeah.
an infinite being can be?
So there's something called MEST reality, and there's a lot of things that have talked about this over the years, but basically this reality is based on matter, energy, space, and time. Energy and space are what is true. Matter and time are inventions that are attached to it, but you believe they all go together. So if you want to create a change in your space, like have more, you believe you need to figure out what matters that is creating it, and then you need to change it over time so that you can finally have more space and more energy. What
Mm,
if it's not true? What if in acknowledging the lie, well, but all of this occurs energetically in the classes, but what if see, hmm, it's an interesting thing to talk about it while knowing that talking about it isn't enough to convey it, you know? So, but what if your mind is not the determining factor of what's possible? What if your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your judgments are actually connected to MEST reality? What if you're a miracle
Mm.
that's about the energy, the space, the consciousness, and the choice of you? That's really what all this is about is undoing where you're tapped into the MEST reality and giving you a reality of energy, space, consciousness, and choice. And our MEST reality is involved in all the judgments in our childhood and our traumas and our suffering and our victim and our victimizing others and our poverty and our not. That's
Mm.
what creates all those things. And when you realize there's something beyond it, then it becomes, okay, what is possible for me to choose beyond this? What can I choose? What can I be beyond it?
How would you say your life has changed when you started to more conduct your world?
My life?
Yeah, your life.
Oh man. Well, so um, the very first session of ESV, and one way of describing the difference between ESV and SOP is where ESV is actually the class I started with in bringing this energy. And the way it occurred was a long time ago when I first came to Access, I had a bar session that literally saved my life. And I started doing sessions trading with Shannon, who had run my bars, and we would get together once a week. And my life just started transforming. And then after my very first foundation class, Gary Douglas, the founder, called for a session in my office. I was a chiropractor at the time. And he came in and he had an energy. He had a unit. It was like a universe with a body. I was like, whoa, this person is different. Okay. And here I was, and I need to try to, in some way, paint the picture of the insecure person that I was that felt like I didn't get energy. I didn't get awareness. I didn't get what everybody else seemed to get so easily in
Mm.
all the spiritual stuff and the energetic stuff I'd done. So, in fact, I was told I should do sports chiropractic. And if I had done sports chiropractic, we wouldn't be on this live because I would have killed myself. Anyway, that's a story for another time because I'm in it for the miracles, Bob. So, anyway, Gary, he sits down. I'm like, okay, so what can I do for you? He's like, look, ask my body what it wants, follow the energy, you'll know what to do. First two levels of what you do don't really work on me. I need the third level. And I was like, I just started studying that. And he went, look, ask my body what it wants, follow the energy, you will know what to do. And those words are the very words that I try to impart to every single person that comes to class. You will know what to do if you get out of your own fucking way. Okay. And, but of course, the class, part of the whole class is getting out of your own way. And how much of your life have you been in your way? How much do you feel like, geez? And some of you might look and go, wow, this and this and this and these people and these things in the world and the, the disasters and the wars and the whatever are the reason for, but actually, we just use those as excuses. We're the ones who are in our own way. Nobody has enough power to stop you except you. So everything you've all done to be the main roadblock to your own life, well, you destroy and create all that place.
Yes.
Ryan Wrong, Good, Bad, Bot Pock, all 100, Shorts, Boys, Poveds, Bases, Creations, and beyond. So he said this, and I was like, I will know what to do. Okay. But as soon as he said it, there was something I cannot begin to describe that I now realize was the CSP, the CSP energy coming into my world so I could work on him. And it felt like the space was filled. I was in a tiny little office. My office was tiny at the time, but it felt like I was in the middle of a universe. And I was like, oh my God. So um, I start work. I didn't even touch him and his body responded. And then at one point, I'm like, 5 meters, 15 feet away with my hand in the air. I was just like, okay, if I know what to do, fine. I'm just gonna, and I was doing this. I'd never done anything like this before, ever. And in fact, I was told I was the one who didn't get energy, which is awesome. So if you're somebody who's like, I don't get energy, believe me, I understand. That's exactly what I thought too. Okay. And here I am teaching other people that they get energy. Weird. Anyway, so this session goes for over an hour. And all I did was just, if it felt like the thing to do, I would do it. If it
Mm,
felt like move 2 steps this way, I would do it. Put your hands like this, I'll do it. Put your hand like this, I'll do it. Put your hand like this. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing, like cognitively. And that's the other part we've got to get. Sometimes when you believe you at least know what you're doing cognitively is when you're actually following your knowing energetically. Your knowing is not cognitive. Cognitive is a limitation of your energetic knowing.
mm,
Everything that is. Right and wrong, good and bad, bottom, POC, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. So, um, in doing this, oh, God, I felt like somebody had given me a gift that I had been looking for lifetimes, a way of accessing the energy behind the structure of matter itself and a way of molding it and changing it and expanding it. And that's what ESB and SOP are. And Gary gets up after however long the session was, and he looks like he has taken every drug known to man, woman, and child. He's like, he can't focus on my face. And he kind of tries to look at me and just kind of looks at it. I was like, how are you doing? Because I had no reference point for me being able to actually do something that was good for someone, you know? If I didn't deep tissue the thing out of their muscles, I didn't know it was happening. And he was like, that was incredible. And I didn't know it at the time, but he told me later, he's like, when I was coming to you, I was dying.
mm,
And you fucker, you changed it. I realized I got to get to work because he was kind of looking forward to dying. He just wanted to come to a chiropractor to get out of the pain. And we've been co-creating together for the last 26 years. But it's like he also did for me what I did for him because that acknowledgement that that energy existed in the world that I had hoped for could exist might not, it's not me. I mean, it was me being able to receive from it, be part of it, but that's what I show everybody else how to do. Receive from it, be part of it. This is yours too. It's not mine, and to think that it's mine and you can do it is a separation that creates us as less and somebody else as more. But what this energy shows you is that you're not less than anyone.
mm. I've heard you tell that story many times, and it was so different this time, the way you describe it or present it. And one of the things that really popped is when Gary said, you know what to do. And there is such because you have to be willing to receive that in that moment. Otherwise, he could say that, 100 times to you, you know what to do, but it wouldn't matter. And that co-creation in that moment when he says that to you and you're receiving that opens so simple
Yeah.
again, right? Opens a whole new universe. Wow.
Well,
So
you know what?
yeah,
I'm
go.
glad I'm glad you brought that up because that's what occurs in the classes. You
Yes.
know, a few hundred of us or however many, maybe thousands in the future, who knows? Or maybe tomorrow, I don't know. But that very thing occurs. See, because what people don't realize, what happens is having this thrum of ESB through the SOP, through the ESB class, and this thrum is it's like this, the background music energetically for like if you could imagine right now filling the space you're in, whatever the room or house or maybe you're outside, I don't know, but could you imagine? It just has to fill it with ESB and SOP.
Mm,
And I know that sounds weird, but that's as simple as it is on one level. And then it also gets very fun to play with the nuances of things on another level. But that's as simple as it is. Ask to fill the space with ESV and SOP. Once
mm,
again, these are my energies. I don't have a, I like, this is not my energy. This is the universe. This is a way of accessing something that I think we've all known forever,
Mm.
but finally it gets to be here now. And it's been a long fucking time since you have I can say it, I promise, since you've had access to the miracles that you are. This is what this is about. You having access to the miracles that you are.
And really, it's one of the most empowering things there is to actually. I remember when I used to come to a lot of ESP classes, and you were the only one working with the end. Well, we were, but you were the one, moving, having sessions on the tables, and it was like you kept saying you're part of it. Everybody's part of it, and slowly
Mhm.
that would sink in. And then when we started the Symphony of Possibilities classes, where we actually got to play with that sense of you know what to do. It's really that sense. You know what to do. It's about you, your being in the universe and playing. There's no one can take that away from you. That empowering goes so much beyond this reality that it like, and then it seeps into everything. So yeah, I'm the fact that it even exists in the world changes the world.
Truly. And with that, and I'm so glad you brought up that it seeps into everything.
Mm,
It's like when you have that awareness and that sense that you know, it it changes your perspective on all the lies you've been buying about you,
yes,
but
yes.
not from force. Here's the other, oh, it makes me want to cry. It's so beautiful. Here's the other beautiful part about this is it's not from force. It's not, you've been lying to me my whole life and calling me a pile of shit. It's somebody goes to direct that energy of you're a pile of shit because that's what they've used to control you and get you to make yourself less. And you've been doing it forever. And we all have. And guess what? You're not wrong and it's not your fault.
Mm,
But here's what happens after class is that energy comes in and very gently you just go, no, that's not true.
yeah, yeah.
That's not true.
Mm.
And I have a sense of the lightness of what is. I'm not gonna turn it down and diminish it to match your need to create a more limited reality for all of us. I'm not buying into that anymore.
And it's even from our own mind. Like our mind tells us all of these things, right? So it's like we suddenly have access to this. You used to talk about it as the beautiful energy underneath, and that's us. So underneath the mind's going, oh, you're no good. But you have access now to this energy underneath that isn't that. So you can tell your own mind to fuck off too, you know?
Yes.
Mm,
And it's all a process because the weird part is we're only willing to have so much change at a time. Once
true.
again, we think we're willing to have everything.
Yeah.
But how many times have you had a major change and you were really uncomfortable for a while and thought, oh, maybe something, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Well,
Never, Dane, never. I've never had that.
no, me neither.
Yeah.
So we're willing to have an amount of change at a time, but that's okay.
Mm,
That's not wrong. And if I could invite everybody watching to not go to that place of that frantic, I must change everything now. It's all got to change now. Well, it might, it can, but even after all of that changes, there will be so much more after it.
mm.
So much more that you can choose, so much more lightness and joy. But once again, here I am trying to talk to people about it. And in actuality, I think might be, I'm just gonna start a little session here of
Mm,
ESP and SOP. Um, and there's slightly different universes to tap into. I don't know how to explain that. I wish I had better words, but I do want to acknowledge that. But so for all of you, one of my favorite questions is if you, my favorite question used to be if you could have anything out of this, what would it be? I'm gonna modify that slightly. If you could have anything change for you in the next few days,
mm,
what would it be?
mm.
Cool. Now, I know a lot of you are like, I must think it and structure it. And no, I already got it. Thank you. Now, will you say yes to having it, please? No matter what it looks like, no matter what it takes. And
Yeah.
everywhere you decided the way the change is going to look, oh my God, it'll be sweetness and light, and he will love me forever. And then we'll ride away on a red horse. And stop this shit. You trying to conclude how the change will look is what stops you from having the universe or being able to receive the universe gifting it to you in the way that it can. Right,
Mm,
wrong, good and bad, bot and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, povets, bases, creations, and beyond. So as I'm doing this, I want to acknowledge one other thing that occurs with ESP, and then at a different level with SOP, as you start to play with these energies even more, ESB is like, okay, this receiving of something that just makes everything different. You look through different eyes at everything afterwards. And then the SOP is another something, but given that you take that leap to play to, it creates a substantialness of something that you will always have access to. But so as I'm doing this, I'd like to it number one, I'd like to let you know you are not alone
mm,
anymore ever again. Number two, I'd like you to know you are not wrong. Okay. Now, I can say that I'm saying this not because I believe we'll clear all of it out of people's worlds, but some of us need to hear that right now because you're in a lot of things that are going on with a lot of people, and you think somehow you must be wrong if they're not able to see something different, or if you're not able to change what they have going on. The other thing I want to, everything that is, right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. By the way, if you're brand new and you somehow found this Zoom, good for you. Thank you for being here. If you haven't understood a word I've said, how has it felt to be here anyway? If you're like, I thought I spoke English, but I don't understand a word this motherfucker's talking about. Maybe you're in the right place. Good to see you. The universe works in mysterious ways, beautiful you. So does consciousness. So the other element is what if it's not your fault? How many of you have believed it's your fault if anybody is unhappy? And when I may say anybody, I mean anybody, especially anybody in your family, but anybody in your school, anybody in your friend group. How much of you believe that anything that is not sweetness and light that happens for anybody is your fault? And how much have you been had that projected at you energetically your whole life? And you assume if it's projected at you that many times, that often, with that much intensity, it must be true, right? Because if it weren't true, people wouldn't say it. People wouldn't do it. People wouldn't make an issue of it. People wouldn't try to blame you for everything. Guess what? It's not true. It is not your fault. But one of the things that occurred is you were such a space of being. Like if you looked at the being you were before you came into this body, I know it's a bit of an advanced topic, but I don't give a fuck. If you're here for a reason. Maybe not the reason you thought, by the way. Okay. But I'd like you to get the sense of the being you were before you came into this body. How aware is that being? How spacious? How free? How desiring to contribute to everyone? Now, I'd like you to walk through the however long it is, the seconds, nanoseconds, whatever, of going from that to conception to
mm,
becoming, going from infinite to becoming one cell. It's at this moment we should collectively be saying, what the actual fuck? Okay, so rewind, rewind to the being you were before you came into this body, being that didn't have embodiment, didn't have to have judgment, right, wrong, good, bad, didn't have to have thought, feeling, emotion, was just like, hello. And what you think, it's not really thinking, but what you assume is going to happen is you're going to go through this process of going into one cell and you're not going to be contracted anymore. What ESB starts to do is take you out of that contraction that you've been experiencing pretty much ever since you had a body and show you that that being you were before you came into this body is actually something you can access more and more and more and be more and more and more and create your life and living from.
Mm,
And it is glorious. And glory means exuberant expression and abundance. And it is beautiful. And you, no matter what you think about you, are
mm,
actually a beautiful creature with infinite choices and infinite possibilities. And if you hear that and you're like, oh, that sounds cheesy. I used to think so too. And then I realized it's far truer than the idea that I was a limited being with no choice, which is
mm.
lighter for you. It's true, always makes you lighter. What else is possible?
Wow. Before we end, you know, you have two classes coming up in April. One
Yay!
one ESP and one SOP class that either they can come to Poland to do the ESP or Slovenia to do the SOP or join us online. And I was just wondering, in the beginning you were talking about, I mean, you could tap into your mom being sad on the other side of the earth or in the room beside you. So when you tap into those classes and the change and the possibilities that will open up, both for the people in the classes, but also in the world, what do you perceive? What's your sense?
Well, here's what I'd like. I'd like, if you would, all of you, whether you're coming to the class or not, I don't care. Well, actually, I do care because I care about you, and I would like you to have it if you get a sense that it's something that is in your highest and best interest. Let's put it that way. But
Mm,
I'd like all of you, everybody watching, will you tap into the ESB in Poland?
mm.
Hmm. Can you get a sense of
Whew.
there's several layers to it, and one of them is see, and here's the weird part. It's like this is not accurate, but I'm going to try to describe it this way. You can tap in here, 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 like wherever, because you could tap into, ooh, Poland, Warsaw. Oh, wow, interesting energy. You could tap into, oh, the ESB. Wow. And then you could also tap into, oh my God, what is possible to take this thing that has been called Poland and Warsaw and all the history and structure and explode it to the gift. Because any place, as far as I found so far, any place on the planet that has experienced a lot of heaviness, it's because what's underneath it is a miraculousness that has not yet been accessed.
Mm,
Everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. Nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. So, if you tap into the class in Poland, like tap into the class. Now, also, everybody has their own perspective, which I'm grateful for and terrified of simultaneously, because some people's perspectives are very interesting, okay? Especially before you take the class. Um, but if you tap into it, what is the possibility for the space that it will create
mm,
for you? Now, here's the weird part. Some of you are like, but I'm not even taking the class. So, what
yeah.
is the possibility for the space that it will create for you? What I'm trying to do is not just this thing in this class. I'm trying to get you to start having a different energetic way of being with your awareness that will allow you to tap into things that will contribute to your future, whatever
Mm,
they are. Okay, because there's so many, but we don't realize it. Anyway, so what will this class be able to create? And will you say yes to it being able to create it? And will you say yes to it creating a billion times more than that, please? I know I'm good and bad, talk all 100, shorts, boys, bovids, bases, creations, and beyonds. Okay, so you have
mm,
that. Now, and some of you might be like, I am not getting anything. I am an energetic idiot. That's what I thought about myself. Unfortunately, I can't do much on this live about that other than acknowledge what if those of you who think you are energetically unaware, what if it's because you have an energetic awareness that is greater than what anybody else was willing to have, and
mm,
nobody could acknowledge you for it? Hmm. Right, wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 100, shorts, boys, POVEDs, bases, Christians, and beyond. So let's tap into, so if we tap into that with the ESB in Poland, okay, and can we ask that class to exponentialize, please? Thank you. And what energy can we pull into it to get every person in a body there or online that can contribute and receive? And if we had all the people that could actually do that across the planet, what would our future be in just 12 months? Now,
Mm.
would you say yes to that and whatever the fuck it looks like, whatever the fuck it takes?
Yes.
Ryan, wrong, bad, bottom, pock, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, Christians, and beyond. One of the things that starts to become an awareness in your world is that our choice matters. Our choice for something like that starts the ball rolling to create it. And I'm not going to try to explain, I'm hoping you get the way consciousness and quantum physics work a little bit in that direction. But I want to say that because we tend to believe that we can't have an outcome in our world. And now more than ever, those of us that desire something different need to have the sense of the potency and ability to create it. That's another thing ESP and SOP create in different ways, is the awareness that you are part of this universe, you are part of this world. And if we're going to have a different future, you're going to have to stop pretending like you're responsible for all the world's problems. Everything that doesn't work is your fault, and you don't have any ability to change it. That is a level of suffering you do not deserve and is no longer creating what you thought it would. It is creating less, it is not creating more. Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it all, please.
Yes.
Good and bad, POD and POC, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. Next, let's tap into the SOP in Slovenia. God, Slovenia, country of dragons. Symphony of possibilities in the country of dragons. Hello. Now, you notice it's different, right? And a lot of you are like, whoa, wow, yeah. Well, it's every class is not just the class, it's the country, it's the participants, it's
Mm.
what we're going to be able to get to. And if you tap into SOP in Slovenia, Land of the Dragons, how friggin' exciting is that? And not from the significance of dragons, but from the awareness of the magic that people believe has been lost.
Mm.
What if us tapping into all these energies is bringing back the magic that has supposedly been lost, that hasn't been lost? We just hid it so nobody could fucking take it away and steal it. Guess
Mm.
what? What if now's the time? Will you say yes?
Yes.
All of you. Times a godzillion, right, wrong, about all 100, pod, poc, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyond. Now's the time to awaken your magic, all of it, not just the bullshit, significant crap, the actual magic that you actually be and the miracles you be, and let us set us and the world free.
Mm.
Ryan Rock, that bottom pocket 100, shorts, boys, poveds, bases, creations, and beyonds. Please, if you see an actual dragon, please, 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 please take a photo or video and send it to me. I'd be very grateful. Thank you.
Mm. Wow. Wow. We just brought the future here and us into the future, into those places. Wow. Okay. Um, I'm gonna go and facilitate a class and
Great idea.
the
Hey,
rain.
I just want to ask one thing to everybody. Are you different than when this live started? And if so, maybe you pass it to some of your weird friends who might actually need it. Don't pass it to those people who are going to judge it. I mean, I don't care if I get judged, but don't pass it to somebody who's not, don't forward it to somebody who's not going to receive something different from it, an acknowledgement of them and their being. And by the way, while you're at it, you don't need to heal everybody. You don't need to change everybody. What if instead you put your energy on gifting to those people that are willing to receive? those people, those rare individuals that are enlivened by your weirdness, that are enlivened by your interesting points of view. Contribute to them. You're not here to save the world. You're not
Mm.
here to change the world by changing everybody. You're here to thrive and let the few people who desire it right now know it's possible.
And we can also ask them, like, just from this live, is your magic dial turned a little bit up?
Mm.
Mine is.
Hey,
Yay.
I like that. Is your magic dial turned up?
Yep.
And also, then here's the other part. And this is exactly what happens in class is you're like, I don't even know what you said. How did that happen? Exactly. That's
Mm,
when your mind is not in charge and can't follow it and can't limit it. So when you don't know what I said, but your magic dial is up, it's like that's the direction to go in.
mm. Yeah, it's like a guide, a compass. Okay, thank you so much.